Hello. In this video, we will discuss proc import and proc export. So they are used to load external files to SAS or write SAS dataset to external files. So first, if you want to work with an external file, so you first need to tell the type of the file. Yeah, so it can be an ASCII file. So ASCII file, so just basically means the files that can be opened by a notepad. Yeah, so it only contains characters, readable characters. So a typical CSV file, maybe TXT file, and many more. So they are ASCII files, right? And so the other type of files, so Excel files, and or maybe the SAS data files. For SAS data files, there is no need to load it. Yeah, so you just directly create a SAS library, and so then you can use that dataset directly. For ASCII files and Excel files, and so we can read using a proc import. Yeah, and for ASCII files, and before you load the data, so you need to be aware of, try to answer the following questions, right? So first you want to know whether the files are delimited or fixed width. Delimited, so just means the value in the data are separated by certain characters, right? So they may be separated by comma, separated by space, or maybe separated by tab. Yeah, so you need to be aware of which characters are used to separate values. And so you also need to know whether the first line of the data contains the name of the variable or not. Yeah, so in most cases, the first line will contain the name of the variable, but not necessarily. And so you may also want to know, do you want to skip some lines? Yeah, so because all those questions will affect how the data should be loaded, right? Well, so pay attention to file name statement. I think we explained that before, right? So just pay attention to this URL option. This is not option, so this is called a keyword, right? So if you just refer to a file on the, in the cloud storage, yeah, so there's no need to use these keywords. So this keyword is needed. So if you point to a web link. Well, so proc import, so reads data from a external file and write it to a SAS dataset. So this is the default behavior of this procedure. So it will read the variable names in the first row, and so it will scan the first 20 rows to count the variable. Yeah, count variable just means just need to count how many variables in this dataset. So it will also decide how to load, basically how to read the value. Yeah, so basically, for example, so whether the value is numerical or maybe they are characters, right? So what format is used to read the value. So this is the general syntax we use, right? So proc import out here, so you just specify name of the dataset. So in the data file option, you just specify the location of that external file, right? So the DBMS, you specify the format of the data. And so then you will, after that, you will have a replace. So just tells us if a data with the same name exists, right? So just use the new data to replace the existing one. So when you use the proc import to read a delimited file, so it will generate a data step to import the data, right? So this one will be displayed in the log window. Yeah, I think so we can check some example to make sure so you understand what I mean. Maybe we use a existing example we used before, right? Yeah, so we use this one. See, Okay, yeah, so this is the example we discussed before, right? So the blood pressure example. So the file is this one. So this is the CSV file. So we use proc import to load it. Yeah, so if you run this one, you will see, so the data is loaded correctly. So if you check the log window, right, you can see, so this part, right? Yeah, so basically, this is the code we submitted, right? So proc import. Yeah, and so what SAS do is SAS essentially just convert this procedure to a data step. Yeah, so this is the actual code so SAS used to load the data. We will explain this data step later. Okay, so right now, so we just use proc import to load the data. Yeah. So let's go back. Okay. Well, so let's explain more options for this procedure, because in the past we only load a CSV file, right? Yeah, but the data file can be other type. So this DBMS, so this is option, just specify the type of the file, right? So you can, so this delimiter, so this is a statement just to specify which character is used to separate values. Yeah, so those are just for several options. So if the delimiter is comma, yeah, so this is essentially the CSV file so we used before. So the value can be separated by tab. So in this case, so the DBMS, we need to specify this as tab, right? So then the delimiter so should be written in this way. So this is just basically, so this just means tab. So if the data, if the value are separated by space, okay, so then we should specify the DBMS as DLM, right? And specify the character as space. See, this is within this quotation mark, see, we have one space here, right? Okay. Or if you use this is called ampersand, right? So this is this and this special symbol, right? And so you specify the format as DLM, and you specify the character as this symbol, right? Yeah. And so this notice, so if the value are separated by space, yeah, so this delimiter, so here, so this can be omitted, yeah, because the default character for this type of data so will be space. This is important, right? So if you separate the value by space, means one single space. Yeah, so if you have multiple space, this option does not work. Okay. So I think so we have many examples. Yeah, so let me show you those examples and then we will move on. Okay, see this data. So first let me check the data. Okay. You can see those are separated by space, right? For here, so why I write quotation mark? Yeah, because so I don't want SAS think so this space just means because so this space is part of the value of this variable, right? Yeah, so basically, so if you use a quotation mark, so SAS will not treat this space as that delimiter to separate values. Yeah, so also the same here. So see for North Carolina, because so this North Carolina, so this is name of the state, right? Yeah, basically I want SAS to ignore the space here. Okay, yeah, so after you read the data, so then you notice, so the first line indicates the name of the variable, and so the value are separated by space. Okay, so then we will use proc import to load it, right? So yeah, so this specify name, the location of the file. So this is determined here. Out, so this is the name of the data set we create. Yeah, so DBMS, we specify this as DLM. Also notice for this DBMS, so this is an option, so means so this should be placed right after proc import statement. But this one is a statement itself, right? So basically, see, I have a semicolon after that. So let me run this part. Well, so this produce the result we expected. Okay. So this one, let me check. Oh. Check this one, this data. This looks weird, right? Yeah, but you can see, so the value are essentially separated by this and this special symbol. And so the first row is, again, is the name of the variable. Yeah, so because the value are separated by this and by this special symbol, so then the DBMS, we specify this as DLM, and so the delimiter, we specify this as the symbol used to separate the values. Yeah, so we run this code. Okay, yeah, so then the data are loaded as what we expected. Okay, so the next one, oh, I think that's all. And so yeah, so then we will mention more options. Get name equals, right? So for most of the data, so the first row contains the name of the variables. Yeah, but for some data set, the first row just data. Yeah, so no variable name. So get name, so basically, so this just tells SAS so whether to get the name of the variables from the first row. So the default is yes. Yeah, and if you do not want to get the variable name, so then you just say no, right? This is the example we have here. First, look at the data. Okay, you can see, so this is the data. So this is Africa, Asian, I think so, just maybe some region, right? Yeah, so those are the data. So the value are separated by comma. Okay. Notice, so there's no variable name, right? Yeah, so then basically when you load the data, yeah, because the value are separated by comma, so the DBMS, so this is a CSV file. Yeah, but the get name equals no, so do not get the name from the first row. If you do not get the name, I think so SAS will assign the name automatically. Yeah, just use a variable 1, variable 2. Yeah, you can see, so variable 1, variable 2. Of course, so later, so we can change the name of the variable to some meaningful names. Okay, yeah, so this demonstrates the statement get names. The next one, so this is guessing row, right? So basically, how many rows SAS scans for variables to determine the type and the length? Yeah, because by default, I think we mentioned, so SAS will scan the first 20 rows to determine the type of the variable. Yeah, so sometimes so this works, but sometimes not, right? And so if you want SAS to basically to scan more rows to decide the type of the type and length, so then you can just write this as a much larger number, right? Maybe a 100 or maybe a 1000 for example, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is guessing row. Data row just means at which row SAS begin to read the data. Right, so this is helpful. So if you do not want to read all observations, and so you only want to read basically a portion of your data, right? So this option will be very convenient. I think why I do not have example here. Let me Let me see if I have example here. Yeah, I think I do not have example here. Well, yeah, but I think so. The meaning is clear. Yeah, I think so. We have one in the in class exercise. Okay. Some comments. Check the dataset. Use proc print after it is imported. Yeah, because we mentioned the proc import does not show any output automatically, right? So if you want to check the contents, you need to use a proc print. Well, so another issue is there are some restrictions for the name of the SAS. There's some restrictions for the name of the variable, right? For example, so the variable cannot contain space. Yeah, but in the external file, so the name may contain some space. So, yeah, so in this case, so because those names are not valid SAS names, right? So if you want for this scenario, so you just put this option before proc import. Yeah, so then basically, so SAS will convert those space in the column names to underscores, and so convert that to a legitimate SAS names. We discussed a proc import. Oh, I think so. There is another example, so I want to show here. So this is a value separated by tab, right? Yeah, I think I forgot to show you this one. You check this one. Okay, see, those are values separated by tab. Okay, and so then you just specify so the dbms as tab. So the delimiter, yeah, so you specify this as 09, so within the quotation mark and followed by a letter X. Yeah, so this is a way to represent tab. So you run this one, the data should load properly. Okay, right, so this is the loaded data. Okay, so the last one. So this one just show you so how to write a SAS dataset to a external file. So we just use a proc export, right? And so all the other syntax will be similar. Okay. Data. So here you just specify name of the dataset. So out file. So you just specify a file to write. So dbms just specify the format you want to write. Yeah, so in most cases, we want to write data as CSV file, and so then you can share your data with your collaborators. Okay, so let's check this example. See, first I specify a file, home. So this is my cloud. My cloud storage, right? See, right now, so there's no, basically I want to create the data to this file, this CSV file. So notice, see here, see there's no this CSV file, right? Yeah, so I call this guy out file. So this is name of the token I select. So then I use a proc export lib2. Oh, what is lib2? Oh, I think so. This is just the employee here. Oh, sorry. In this data set, so I have one called employee, right? So let me define a lab name, my lib2. So point to this location, home, my ID, then data sets, right? Okay, yeah, so then this link just, this location is called the library mylab2. So mylab2 employees just corresponds to this dataset. So export, so I just export this SAS dataset to CSV file, right? Yeah. So basically what I do is just essentially just convert these files to a CSV file. So I run this one. See, 500 record created, right? So if you check, see there is a new data. You can see, you can download download file, right? So then you can open it. See, this is the CSV file I just created. Okay. Well, so last, yeah. So this is in-class exercise. So try this first. Yeah, and so you may pause your video for a while. Okay, so I think you may finish it your exercise. So let's try to work those together. So load the data from blood pressure. I think so. We've already done this multiple times, right? Okay, I think so. It is here. Yeah. So basically, so this is how we do it in the past, right? Yeah. So load the data and then print the contents. Okay. So notice in the output, see those are the name of the variable. So we get that from the first row of the data, right? So first row of the file. So we can check the file. It is like that. See, the first row indicate the name of the variable. So then what we do is, so what happens is, so if we use a guest name equals no, right? So if we say get names equals no, right? So then we run it. What does it mean? So get name equals to no just means, so we do not get name from the data, right? So basically means tells us, so start to read from the first row as data. You can see this is why. So the first row, right? So this just the name of the the original name of the variable. Okay, yeah. So this is what happens. So if you use this one, and this is not good. Okay, so I remove that, or maybe you can say get name equals yes, right? So this is the default. This is the default one. Yeah. So this is looks correct. Create a SAS dataset, only read the last 10 rows, right? Because in total, see, we have 22 observations. Yeah, so by default, so we read from the second row. But if we want to read maybe from the 12th row, right? So maybe I think so. The SAS option is this one. See, data row, right? So we say data row equals maybe 12, right? So then SAS will read from the 12th row. You can see so only a few. It starts from JI, right? So JI is this one, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Since SAS read data starting from this row. If you only want 10, I think so we need drop 2 more, right? So start from 14. If you start from 14, right? So SAS, only read the last 10 observations. See, starting from JW. Yeah, so JW is here, right? So that's the 14th row of your data. Okay. The next one, yeah, so write the SAS dataset to a CSV file. So if you want to write it, right, so first you need to create a name, so maybe out. So I call this guy, so this should be home. So I want to, the name of the dataset, so I want to call it maybe exercise EX CSV, right? CVS, CSV, not CVS. Okay, so file name. So then I say proc export. So the data should be this blood I just load. Also then we say dbms, so equals the CSV, and the data file, right? Not data file, called the out file. So should be this out. So this we just created, and so then replace, then we run. So then you run this piece of code. You can see, so it will have a CSV file called ex. So then you download the file, so you can open it, right? So this is just the data you exported. Okay. Well, so this is the end of this video.